If you were around in the 90s, you might remember the Tamagotchis, which were pocket-sized virtual pets released by Bandai in 1996. There were, and still are, various off-brand or bootleg versions with different animals and creatures. McDonald's also had Happy Meal Tamagotchi keyrings in 1998. These sorts of pet simulators were a popular idea for games and toys for a while. There were Tamagotchis, the little robotic micro-pets, the online game Neopets, and others. I remember there was a specific Pokemon branded Tamagotchi that let you take care of a little Pikachu, and of course I had one. I've always loved the pet simulators, and with my actual reptiles, rodents, and invertebrates, I've always loved thinking about their environments and needs, and carefully creating the enclosures where they live. I've seen different adaptations of the idea of these pet simulators into tabletop games, but I've never found a particular one that is exactly what I want it to be in every way. So the obvious answer was to stop nitpicking other games and just create one of these myself. That's how Habitat started. Habitat is a cozy, low-stakes pet simulator that blends scratch building your tiny creature and its environment with mechanics for taking care of it day to day. I'm still in the development stage, and I haven't released the actual rulebook yet, but I'm planning to do that eventually. And I don't expect the core mechanics of the game will change very much from where they are now, so I figure I can make a playthrough even when the rules aren't totally done, and it will be basically correct still later. I'll go through the rules as written, and building an enclosure for your pet is the first step. Habitats are square or rectangular. The sizes are measured diagonally, from an upper-hand corner to a lower-hand corner. The sizes in inches reflect types of dice, 6, 8, and 10. A starting habitat is 6 inches and can increase from there. Habitats must have one piece of furniture, or enrichment, per inch. Enrichment can be anything. Points of interest inside the habitat, shelter spots where your pet could hide to feel more comfortable and secure, etc. The size of the enclosure reflects the denomination of die you get to roll. Thus, the bigger it is, the better off your pet is. I don't remember where this wooden box came from or what it was for, but it was obviously never used, and it would be perfect for this. It has a built-in Lazy Susan, and it's the right size. It's a little beaten up because it's been stored for years, but that will be easy to cover, and I think it can turn into an interesting starting habitat. The rules say you may want to choose the box you plan to use, then skip ahead to create your pet itself, so you can derive ideas about the enclosure from the nature of the creature which will live there. I'll do that. Now that we've picked a good box to use for this, we'll leave it blank for the moment. You can create your pet in 2 different ways. There's the outside in method, which is what you'll use when you already have a particular toy or mini in mind. In that case, you choose 2 traits from the types list to describe it, and 1 trait from the natures list to describe your concept for what it's like beyond its immediately visible characteristics. If you want to completely randomize everything, which I'll do here, you'll use the inside out method. To begin, you roll d20 on the types list twice, and incorporate whatever results you get into the creature. The first result is 15, which means the creature is reptilian, and the second result is 5, which means it's quadrupedal. So whatever else the creature is, it's a reptilian quadruped. Now we move on to its nature. There are 10 options, so I'll roll d10 to get this randomly, rather than choose. The result is 5, meaning it's docile. So it's a docile reptilian quadruped.
That sounds like a great starting point for a creature. I can already imagine some interesting ideas combining those traits.
I'm imagining something like a herbivore crocodile cow. I imagine it feeding on a diet of seaweed, and being very slow and patient like an ox.
That's a wonderful idea. The image of a gentle, lumbering crocodile cow grazing on aquatic plants is really charming. I picture it having a sturdy, 4-legged body covered in scales that shimmer like seaweed, with a long, flat tail and a pair of curved horns. Its jaws would be broad and flat, perfect for cropping seaweed from the rocks. I think its scales would be a mottled green and brown, helping it blend in with the rocky shoreline. The horns could be a slightly darker shade, with a warm sandy tone to them.
What about a name for this kind of creature? It might be fun to include that.
Let's call it a Krolix. It sounds exotic and fitting for a gentle seaweed-grazing reptilian quadruped.
Here it is. I imagine the Krolix is in the dragon family and has ancestral wings, but they're flightless, and other wings are related to swimming like penguins. Anyway, we have this type of creature, but this one is a pet. It needs a given name too. Huxtable. If you don't already have a toy or mini you want to use scratchbuild your pet, using whatever materials you like, in whatever style you like, at whatever scale you feel looks good. If you want some inspiration, perusing lists of folklore creatures will give you many ideas to start from. Fun fact, the creator of Pokemon was inspired by the Japanese folklore around yokai. He's also autistic, which I find interesting for obvious reasons. The pet's stats are satiation, contentment, hygiene, and intelligence. Satiation describes how well a pet's basic needs are being met, such as the needs for food and water. Contentment describes how satisfied a pet is, not only in terms of his basic needs, but also higher level needs beyond those. Not just food and water, but exercise, enrichment, interaction, etc. If your pet's contentment score ever reaches 0, you lose access to all activities except minigames. Hygiene describes how clean the pet's environment is. Intelligence describes how active the pet's mind is, and how much mental stimulation it requires to avoid boredom. With the building done, we can dive into gameplay. Habitat is a low-stakes, open-ended solo experience with no possibility of winning or losing. It requires the core rules, a set of polyhedral RPG dice, and a deck of regular playing cards. Caring for your pet follows a daily schedule. You'll roll the appropriate die based on your pet's enclosure once per day, following a checklist of basic activities: feeding, cleaning, schooling, and interacting. These basic activities connect to your pet's stats. There's other stuff as well, but that's basically how it goes. There's also a section in the rulebook about visiting the store, which is how you spend your gold and get items for your pet, or make changes to it, or to its habitat. You receive 1 gold per day, in addition to any gain during gameplay. Gold can be spent in various ways, so it's always good to have and probably won't last. There are also a few minigames to play, which can earn you gold, and also have mechanical effects for your pet. That's actually the main thing I'm still working on. There are currently 3 minigames in the rulebook, and I want there to be more. Thinking of how to make these little things work in a solo game with nothing but simple rules on making it is pretty hard, but they're coming along. Anyway, to play us out, here's part of a song we wrote a couple years ago called Alien Menagerie, which seems fitting here.
On far off Excel, on its skies ablaze, there's a zoo of wonders, a cosmic maze with creatures of extraterrestrial hues. Welcome to a world that's strange and new. There's the Tsarit's, the shifter, a master of disguise, changing shape before your disbelieving eyes. And the aviary, the gravity birds in a feathered stream, soaring high, a stardust dream. Then there are the arachnixy, fluffy friends so dear. Just watch for the spikes that appear. This cosmic zoo's a wonder to explore. In the alien menagerie, there's always more. The zookeeper's life is quite a scene, with creatures bizarre and routines unseen. Feeding time's a challenge, that's for sure. From cosmic kibble to interstellar puree. Zorvet's taste change with his hue. 1 minute it's red, then it's blue. The gravity birds, they eat on the fly, chasing stardust snacks across the sky. And those arachnixie with their eight-legged might, their favorite dish is a star being served just right. So spare a thought for the zookeeper's plight. Oh, spare a thought for the zookeeper's plight. But wait, there's one treat that brings universal delight. Dorati granola, a shimmering sight. With stardust sprinkles and nebulous swirls, it's the snack that unites these alien worlds. From Zorvath to birds, they all gather round for a taste of this goodness profound. Even the arachnixie with their spiky flair munch with delight a contented air. So thank the stars for this granola's creation, a zookeeper's dream, a peaceful sensation.